I would like to move to the next agenda item, to online presentation. First, I would like to invite Mr. Lars Moltsen for the VDES updates. So, Mr. Moltsen, floor is yours, please.
Thanks, Hyunhee. You should be able to see me by now, and
yes.
You should be able to see my screen by now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. We see the screen.
Start.
Please.
So thank you for the opportunity to give a little update on our Sternula AIS 2.0 satellite network, which is, of course, to some of you more known as VDES satellite network, but I think also I talked about this last year, that we started using AIS 2.0 as a kind of a synonym for VDES, because it tends to be much easier to explain when we talk to people outside the inner circles of Ayala and the technology development around VDES. So here I use both AIS 2.0 and VDES. Of course, we are working to meet some needs for digitalization in the maritime industry, where there are both a number of public services that are in focus, but also some commercial services that can be applied over our future AIS 2.0 satellite network. When it comes to the public services, it's mainly those that you may already know from the IMO e-navigation strategy implementation plan. So, for instance, the distribution of maritime safety information shown here, vessel traffic service, and then there are, I believe, 16 specific services in total in the strategy implementation plan. But then you can also use it for more commercial applications like the reporting from critical onboard equipment, such as the engine, or you could use it for booking different resources like shipyards, port slots or pilots, icebreakers, whatever. Yeah, quick slide on what the full solution will look like. VDES is this, you can see it as a new maritime IoT network with its own radio spectrum allocated. You have ship-to-ship connectivity. Ships can communicate directly using VDES. You have a ship-to-shore known as VDES terrestrial, and then you have the ship-to-satellite link, which is where we come in Sternula to offer this global connectivity. So, including the downlink, which is essential for many of these digital services that were in focus in the previous slides. So, our purpose of living is to offer this global satellite-based AIS 2.0 network. Now it's getting interesting, because when is this happening? As most of you know, the radio spectrum has been allocated in several steps over the past year. The last one was at the World Radio Conference, ITU World Radio Conference in 2019, where also the VDES spectrum was finally approved. So if you look at this illustration of the North Sea region, there's the sort of GMGSS area A1, which is shown in orange here, which will be at some point covered by terrestrial VDES. And we expect that the coastal nations here in this region should be done around 2026 by deployment of or upgrades of the existing AIS networks. But we will be much faster than that because our first satellite is scheduled to launch this year in October, and then we will essentially be able to provide some satellite coverage in these waters already from beginning of 2023 for non-real-time services. So, yeah, of course, with a single satellite, it's not anywhere near real-time, but it's quite useful for some use cases, periodic connectivity to vessels or even buoys. And then broadcasting of MSI, weather forecasts, ice charts, if we go a little bit higher north, can be done over this satellite. And this is the same roadmap as I believe that I showed you last year. We have the first satellite flying this year, and then we have a plan for 4 more satellites in 2024. 16 more satellites in 2026, and then another 40 satellites in 2028, which means we have 60 satellites that should be enough for something really close to global real-time connectivity. I have also indicated here something like sort of the minimum, the worst coverage is around the equator when we have the single satellite, because it takes these 95 minutes to do one orbit. So we will be around the North Pole and the South Pole, 15 to 16 times per day, and then due to the rotation of Earth, we will pass, the Earth will pass our orbit something like twice a day at the equator. And then as we add more satellites, we get closer and closer to real time, and by 2028, as I said, we should have at very close to real time connectivity, a little bit depending on how it's implemented. Yeah, this is just a little bit homemade, invented solution that we believe could be a really nice application to be deployed from next year when we have the flying satellite. Something where you want to monitor the green profile of a vessel. Something where you do some measurements on the exhaust from the vessel and measure the fuel usage. You have a little green profile box deployed, which then combines the data also with the position of the vessel, and then uses the standard AIS interface, which is this linear string interface, or an MCP, Maritime Connectivity Platform-based interface to transport or transmit data back home to some server where you can then monitor data. And then if you are in sort of near shore waters, you can use the VDES network, and if you're in the big oceans, you can use our satellite network. The idea and the really new thing is here you have a very simple and very cheap for the ship owner solution that gives you a global green profiling monitoring service. Something that I would like to share with you is that sort of early next year, most likely in April, we are going to launch what we call the worldwide AIS 2.0 demo project. And hereby, we invite you all to take part in it. If you are interested in being part of this AIS 2.0 demo project, then you should just go to our webpage, use the link shown here. And then you should start implementing your own test service that you want to have tested during this 1 month project. Or you should just get in touch with me or one of our guys and subscribe to receive some prepared services that we'll make available. And one is to allow for ships to receive virtual buoys, virtual age navigation, something that already works in AIS, but which will be working sort of outside A1, GMGSS area A1 with the VDES network. Also one that allows you to receive MSI messages or receive AIS 2.0 weather bulletins, as we call it. Of course, using some standardized IHO data formats. Then, of course, you need to figure out which ship or which vessels you want to have part of the test, and it should be equipped with one of the new AIS 2.0 capable terminals. That could be, for instance, I know that the Saab R6 model is one that supports VDES, because we're already doing some tests with it. The idea is that you do your own test, your own sub project of the big project, and you will probably want to show off and present the results to others. That could be within the community, because we also plan to have a community of people working together around this, but also in local media, show that it works. We have AIS 2.0 operational from this date. That's it. Hope it was useful.
Thank you, Lars.
Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Lars. Yeah, it's a very interesting presentation, and especially I'm very excited to hear about the AIS 2.0 project from next year. But anyway, so any question or comments on the presentation, please? Okay, if you don't have, I have one comment regarding your presentation, and you, Lars, introduced a green profile demo or something like that using VDES. And as you know, IRA is now moving toward how to use age navigation in environmental sustainable movement. So maybe not different committee, we call the engineering committee, plan to have a workshop maybe in this coming November. And they asked us to how e-navigation, our committee, contribute to this kind of the environmental sustainability. So I think it's this one is a very good example for how VDES satellite contribute to this environmental sustainability. So maybe I will ask, maybe we need to use this your presentation to introduce NG committee for how we can contribute to this environmental sustainability.
It's an idea that came up in a talk I had with a ship management company. So as a company that takes care of ship operations on behalf of the ship owner. So they operate around 300 different ships, and they have some obligations to do some green profile monitoring, and this is the draft architecture that came up and then I presented to them. So I just stole it and used it in this presentation. But definitely something people are interested in.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lars. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any question to Lars' presentation, maybe you can use chat box to ask Lars. Okay, thank you very much, Lars. Okay,
thank you.
Then next, I would like to invite maybe from the Netherlands. I think Jeffrey, who will be a presenter for this startup of a project of digitalization of North Sea, so Dutch part. Jeffrey, do you know who will?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. But my colleague Cas Willems will give the presentation because he knows more about it. So you always have to get the person who will know more about the presentations. So I leave it over to them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. William Cas, and also Andy Wimbander. Please give us a presentation.
Thank you very much. You see my presentation?
Yes, we see the presentation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for providing me the opportunity to present this very new initiative in the Netherlands, what we call Digital and Connected North Sea. And of course, we mean with North Sea, the Dutch part of the North Sea. I'm Cas Willems, and I'm very pleased to see my old colleagues in the audience like Omar, Lillian, Stefan. I'm working for the Ministry of Transport in the Netherlands together with Wim van der Ende, and of course, you know, Jeffrey van Gils as one of your team. We just started this initiative, and I'm pleased to inform you on this initiative, because we need your expertise and we need your experience in the coming years to bring this to a good end. Of course, nothing new for you. It's really getting busy, very busy on the North Sea. If you see the Netherlands, it's really busy. But that's not only related to shipping activities. When I see in the Netherlands what's going on, and of course it's also daily business in your country or in your organizations, we see the North Sea in transition, caused by the increase of mobility and transport. Smart mobility is coming up, mass is coming up, but we see also the initiatives for building wind parks, but also alternative energy parks, going towards a transition for more sustainable energy. And industry is popping up on the North Sea. In the middle of the North Sea, we have this development of sustainable blue economy. And of course, we have to protect in this environment nature. And there are a lot of activities increasing throughout the whole North Sea to protect our nature, to protect our water quality. And in the middle of that, close to all those transitions, we have the digital transition, and I will focus on that in the next slides. What we see, and I only took some of the logos of initiatives, research activities, innovations, and services and business processes on the North Sea. It's partly our Dutch initiative, but I'm sure you will recognize many of them. They all have in common that data and information is needed, that intelligence is getting more and more important, and connected to the last presentation, connectivity, digital connectivity is essential for not only the North Sea and not only the Dutch part of the North Sea, but worldwide. But luckily in Europe, and also in the Netherlands, of course, we have in those enormous amount of activities in this drawing on the right side, I drafted, and you cannot read it, but I drafted the activities on that Dutch part of the North Sea, and we are focusing on that part, and I hope in the future we can extend it to other parts of the North Sea, other parts of Europe, and maybe worldwide. We have supporting policies helping us to bring the North Sea to the future and to assist us in the digitalization of the North Sea. You have the European Green Deal, you have the Marine Strategy Framework to protect our environment. We have, of course, maritime spatial planning as one of the essential directives for the coming years to bring the North Sea to the future. The Blue Economy Directive, and of course, at the end, we need the overarching European digital strategy to bring the digital and connected North Sea a little bit further. When I talk about the digital connected North Sea, we want that because we need to keep the North Sea safe, livable, accessible, and economical, profitable, and in balance with the nature. And for that, we have to collect, exchange, and share information for all those functions on the North Sea. The ultimate goal is a digital connected North Sea where interconnected users work together and innovate to maximize the potential of that North Sea and to add new values to it. We can only do that in close cooperation between governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, and research and development institute, and of course the industry. In a digital information infrastructure has to be developed and implemented. To reach that, we must establish national but also international collaboration and find synergies between different organizations, different countries, and different stakeholders on those maritime waters. And that's, of course, one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm asking your cooperation and I'm asking your support. And we have to realize the basic infrastructure that's needed. On the one hand, we want more infrastructure, and on the other hand, you see, for example, that platforms on the North Sea are disappearing because apparently we don't want the use of gas and oil in the future in the same way as we have it now. And we have to create information facilities and digital connectivity for all functions on the North Sea. So we started in the Netherlands and through different departments, different ministries, the development of an implementation program for the digitalization of the Dutch part of the North Sea with focus on the period 2030 and 2040. But that's close. So we have to start now, and we start this project together with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, or the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Defense related to the Coast Guard, the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate. I don't have to tell you why this ministry is one of the leading organizations, and we have the connection to the Ministry of Nature and Food Quality related to fishery. As you can see, we, Rijkswaterstaat, we have an offshore expertise center, and we take the lead in this activity that will last for the coming 2 or 3 years. What we want to do is to develop a vision of governmental and non-governmental stakeholders on their information and connectivity needs for the future, for those services and those tasks which those organizations are responsible for, with the objective to create a joint digital infrastructure. We have also the support in the Netherlands of a connectivity field lab where we are already doing some innovations and pilots and field trials on digital connectivity, and I think that's close related to what I learned from the previous speaker. It's on a high level at this moment. That's my presentation for today. I hope I can tell you more and tell you about the first results in the coming year. But then I like to come to Paris instead of doing it via screen. For more detailed information on the objectives, timeframe, and work program of the initiative, please contact me, Wim van der Ende, or of course you can always contact Jeffrey. If you want to connect your organization to the initiative, please feel free to ask us. And for this moment, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. And if there are questions, I, of course, want to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cas, and thank you very much, Joe. It's a very interesting presentation, and especially as I said previous presentation, it's maybe how digital contribute to the sustainability. And then, but if you, if anybody have any question or comments, and maybe I think we can approach these all presentation slides in a few hours, and so maybe you can have a question access point from the slide. Thank you very much, okay. Mr. Cas. Thank you very much. Then next presentation, as already we announced, we have Miss Hyunhee Koo from 3GPP. So Miss Hyunhee Koo, floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, very clear.
Yeah, I will share my screen.
Yeah, now we see the screen.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to attend the ENAV meeting and then having an opportunity of introducing the recent 3GPP standardization trend at this ILR meeting. I'd like to briefly present 3GPP Release 18 prioritization for 5 advanced that 3GPP made the decision in the SA plenary held in December last year. It's the outlines of my presentation today. First, I would like to introduce the timelines of Release 18 and Release 19 standardization confirmed in 3GPP so far. A requirement from several industries were provided for the discussion of the Release 18 prioritization last year. As you may be informed, the maritime requirements were also presented at TSGSA workshop that was held in last September based on the maritime perspectives developed by the collaboration with the ILR Secretariat, with the lots of inputs from market representative partners related to vertical industries, as well as the 3GPP members. The contents of Release 18 packages and the timeline for Stage 2 and Stage 3 standardizations were confirmed by 3GPP as a plenary in December last year. According to the confirmed timeline, Release 18 standardization will be freezed by December 2023. By completing to develop Stage 3 specification. In parallel, SA Working Group 1 started Release 19 Stage 1 standardization with a new process. According to the new process introduced, candidates for the new studies can be presented at SA Working Group 1 meetings in November 2021 and February 2022. And then the new studies can be agreed for Release 19 Stage 1 standardization at SA Working Group 1 meetings in February and May this year. Of course, it is possible to have exceptions if a consensus is made in SA Working Group 1. SA Working Group 1 didn't have the prioritization process to limit the number of studies and works so far. However, if needed, the prioritization process will be carried out like in SA plenary, and such a process will be handled in a short ad hoc meeting at SA 198B's meeting in May. The timeline for Release 19 Stage 1 standardization is proposed to be by September 2023 in terms of the perspective of SA Working Group 1, and it will be decided whether it will be confirmed or not during SA plenary meeting that is held from this week. And from this slide, I would like to provide the brief introduction on the overview of Release 18 prioritization. This slide shows the all studies approved from all working groups in 3GPP, SA, and RAN. As you might know, I collaborate with the IALA Secretariat to develop maritime demands on candidates of 3GPP 18 works. Candidates related to coverage expansions and positioning were presented to need to be prioritized for 5G advanced standardization in the perspective of maritime sectors at TSG SA workshop held in September last year. This slide summarized the list of studies related to coverage expansion that were approved for the Release 18 standardization in SA Working Group 2 and RAN Working Group 1 and 2. You can find out the short description and objective of each study in the Annex 1 in this presentation document. And also, this slide summarized the list of studies related to positioning that were approved for the Release 18 standardization in SA Working Group 2 and RAN Working Group 1. Short description and objective of the listed studies here can be found in Annex 1 as well. SA Working Group 1 started Release 19 Stage 1 standardization, and we will look at the current standardization status briefly. SA Working Group 1 agreed 5 studies for Release 19 Stage 1 standardization, and they were supposed to be approved TSG SA plenary that is held from tomorrow. I will introduce the brief description on 2 studies, which are FS Sensing and FS Ambient IoT, because they could be related to future A2N service over 5's advanced systems. First, FS Sensing study was agreed to be carried out during Release 19 Stage 1 standardization. Its objectives are to study use case and potential requirement for the enhancement of the 5G advanced system to provide integrated communication and sensing services, addressing different target verticals and applications, including maritime sector. Service scenarios related to smart A2N with the sensors can be taken into account as the use case of these studies for maritime sector. So I consider the plan to contribute such a scenario in SA1 work. So if you are interested to be participate, and then please contact me, and then I will figure out how we could collaborate after discussing with the IR secretary and maybe working group to Jillian later. And second, FS ambient IoT study was agreed to be carried out as well for RIS-19 stage 1 standardization. Its objectives are to study use case and potential requirement to support ambient power-enabled Internet of Things, whose energy is provided through the harvesting of radio waves, light, motion, heat, or any other power source that could be seen suitable. Service scenarios relate to smart A2N with ambient power-enabled Internet of Things can also be taken into account as a use case of these studies for maritime sector as well. And also, candidate for RIS-19 stage 1 standardizations were discussed in SA Working Group 1 meeting in last February, and they were scheduled to be decided on whether they were agreed or not in May 2022. 5 candidates shown on the slide with the blue color are related to coverage expansions. I think you can figure out that one of the hot agenda in 3GPP RIS-18 and RIS-19 standardization is coverage expansions that several industries have kept making voice on for their digital transformation over 5G systems. For information is the meeting schedule of SA Working Group 1 in charge of the development of a technical specification in the perspective of a service requirement. Thank you. It's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Koo. Yeah, very good presentation and regarding the movement of the 3GPP. Is there any question? Koo? If nothing, I think it working groups has contacted closely with 3GPP. So if those interested in the movement of